Ever wondered which Canadian cities people actually can't stand? While Canada is famous for its friendly vibe and stunning landscapes, not every city lives up to the hype. What is it about these cities that make them so unpopular? Is it their people, the local issues, or something deeper? Let's dive into the 10 most hated cities in Canada and uncover the reasons behind their bad reputations. But wait, before we dive fully into this, take 2 seconds and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on our future amazing content. And hit the like button. Top 10 most hated cities in Canada. 1. Windsor, Ontario. Windsor, often hailed as the automotive capital of Canada, sits on the edge of the U.S. border, directly across from Detroit, Michigan. This prime location should be a strategic advantage, turning Windsor into a bustling hub of cross-border trade and activity. Yet, the city feels like a place caught between its glorious past and a troubled present. The decline of Windsor's once booming automotive industry has left a gaping hole in its economy. With an unemployment rate hovering at 7.5%, opportunities are scarce, especially for younger residents who are increasingly leaving in search of better prospects. Windsor's fate is tied to the whims of the global auto industry, which has shifted elsewhere, leaving the city to grapple with its economic decline. But the problems don't end there. The city's air quality is among the worst in Canada. Windsor often ranks as one of the most polluted cities in Ontario, a result of industrial emissions from factories on both sides of the border. Health Canada's 2022 report revealed that Windsor has some of the highest levels of airborne particulate matter, which has led to increased rates of respiratory issues and a rising concern among residents who can't escape the thick air that clings to their lungs. On top of the environmental struggle, crime has also been a persistent issue. While Windsor's violent crime rate remains relatively low, property crime has soared. In 2023, Windsor's property crime rate was nearly 20% higher than the national average, with car thefts and break-ins becoming a common occurrence. The city's downtown area, which should be a vibrant cultural and commercial hub, is dotted with vacant storefronts, a sign of an economy that hasn't found its footing. Even the nightlife scene struggles to attract crowds, leaving many to wonder if Windsor can ever shake off the weight of its past and find a way forward. 2. Surrey, British Columbia. Nestled just outside Vancouver, Surrey is one of the fastest-growing cities in British Columbia. Yet, with its rapid expansion, Surrey seems to be buckling under the weight of its own ambition. The city's population has surged past 600,000, and the relentless urban sprawl has led to a myriad of problems that make life here increasingly difficult. Commuters in Surrey face the brunt of the city's poor infrastructure. Traffic congestion is a daily headache. A 2023 transportation survey found that the average Surrey resident spends an eye-watering 67 minutes stuck in traffic each day, making the commute a grueling ordeal for anyone trying to balance work, family, and life in the city. But the real heart of Surrey's troubles lies in its crime. The city has seen an alarming rise in gang-related violence, particularly in neighborhoods like Newton and Whalley, which have become infamous for criminal activity. In 2022 alone, Surrey recorded over 1,200 incidents of violent crime, including assaults, shootings, and armed robberies. The fear of crime looms large over residents, casting a shadow over the city's otherwise beautiful parks and diverse communities. Adding to Surrey's woes is the steep rise in housing prices. The average home now exceeds $1 million, which makes homeownership a distant dream for many. The rental market is equally competitive, with vacancy rates below 1%, pushing prices even higher. For many young families and first-time homebuyers, Surrey has become a city that feels out of reach. As Surrey continues to grow at a breakneck pace, residents are left wondering if the city can keep up with the social and infrastructural challenges that growth brings, or if it's headed for a crisis. 3. Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton is a city in transition, yet it still bears the weight of its industrial past. Located just an hour from Toronto, Hamilton is trying to reinvent itself as a vibrant cultural hub, but many feel it still has a long way to go. Often referred to as Steel City, Hamilton is famous for its steel mills and working-class roots. The city's landscape is dominated by towering smokestacks, and the air carries a metallic odor, a constant reminder of the city's industrial legacy. But as Hamilton pivots away from steel, it's faced with an uphill battle. The pollution is not just a nuisance, it's a health risk. Hamilton's air quality frequently falls short of provincial standards, with toxic levels of benzene and other harmful chemicals circulating the atmosphere. In fact, the city's air pollution levels were reported to be nearly twice as high as Toronto's in 2023, making Hamilton one of the most polluted cities in Ontario. For anyone with respiratory issues, this is more than just an inconvenience, it's a matter of health. Hamilton's economic struggles are deeply tied to the decline of its steel industry. While the city has made strides in diversifying its economy, industries like healthcare and education simply don't offer the same kind of high-paying, blue-collar jobs that steel once did. The result is a city with a relatively high unemployment rate of 8%, and a poverty rate that hovers around 14%, among the highest in Ontario. Many feel that Hamilton's transition is faltering, leaving behind a population with few prospects. Perhaps the city's most urgent crisis is homelessness. In 2022, Hamilton reported over 1,200 homeless individuals, a number that continues to grow each year. Local shelters are overwhelmed, social services are stretched thin, and for many, there's no clear path out of the streets. Hamilton's gritty charm may draw some, but for others, it's a city struggling to offer hope. As it grapples with these systemic issues, Hamilton is left asking, can it shed its industrial past and truly become the vibrant, forward-thinking city it dreams of, or will it remain mired in the problems that have defined it for decades? 4. Winnipeg, Manitoba. Winnipeg, the capital of Manitoba, is a city that paints a picture of resilience in the face of extreme cold. Known for its rich cultural scene, from festivals to the renowned Royal Winnipeg Ballet, the city still carries an unforgiving edge. Imagine stepping outside in winter, only to be hit by the sharp sting of temperatures plunging to -40 degrees Celsius, wind chill included. Winnipeg doesn't just experience winter, it endures it. The harsh, relentless cold stretches for months, with snow covering the streets like an uninvited guest that refuses to leave. For those not used to this kind of extreme weather, it can be a living nightmare. But it's not just the cold that defines Winnipeg, it's the pervasive challenges that come with it. The city's crime rate is disturbingly high, making it one of the most dangerous cities in Canada. In 2023 alone, violent crimes, including homicides, were on the rise, with Winnipeg suffering from the highest homicide rate in the country. Property crimes, from car thefts to break-ins, are a constant fear, leaving many residents feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. The infrastructure struggles to keep up with the growing needs of the city. Potholes become craters, road repairs are often delayed, and water main breaks occur frequently, leaving residents without running water for days at a time. Winnipeg is also battling a growing homelessness crisis, with nearly 10,000 individuals experiencing homelessness every year, many without access to basic services. Despite its rich cultural offerings and historic landmarks, Winnipeg often feels like a city that's stretched too thin, with its challenges overshadowing the things that make it great. 5. Brampton, Ontario. Brampton, a city that has exploded in growth over the last few decades, is often seen as a textbook example of suburban sprawl gone wrong. What was once a quiet town has now become a bustling urban center, but the infrastructure simply hasn't caught up. Rapid population growth, fueled by immigration, has turned Brampton into a mosaic of crowded neighborhoods and chaotic traffic. For those who find themselves stuck in the car during rush hour, Brampton can feel like an endless maze of congestion. Drivers spend an average of 82 hours per year in traffic, one of the highest rates in Canada. It's not just the traffic that frustrates residents, it's the underlying issues that come with the city's rapid expansion. Brampton's crime rate is another dark cloud hanging over the city. In 2023, the city reported a crime severity index of 88, higher than the national average, with gang violence and drug trafficking affecting certain parts of the city. The stress on public services is palpable, with hospitals and schools at capacity and emergency services often stretched thin. In a city of over 700,000 people, finding green spaces for recreation can be a challenge, and public transportation options are sorely lacking. The urban planning, often described as disorganized, adds to the chaos, with poorly designed neighborhoods and limited access to essential services. Property taxes are sky-high, making it feel as though residents are paying more for less. Despite Brampton's rapid growth and diverse population, it often feels like a city that is growing too quickly for its own good, teetering on the edge of becoming unmanageable. 6. Regina, Saskatchewan. Regina, the capital of Saskatchewan, stands as a city that reflects the struggle between promise and reality. While its vast prairies and open skies offer a certain beauty, the city can feel stark and uninviting, especially during the long, bitter winters. Temperatures can plummet well below -20 degrees Celsius, making it a city where winter feels like it has no end. Summers are short, often arriving with the unpredictability of stormy skies and the briefest glimpses of warmth. Regina's economy, heavily reliant on the volatile oil industry, faces the constant challenge of being at the mercy of global market shifts. The oil price crashes leave the city vulnerable, and economic growth remains sluggish. But it's not just the economy that's holding Regina back. Crime is a major concern. Regina consistently ranks among Canada's most dangerous cities, with a crime severity index of 117, one of the highest in the country. Violent crimes are disturbingly frequent, with over 1,300 assaults and 20 homicides reported in 2022 alone. Property crimes, such as break-ins and thefts, only add to the sense of insecurity that plagues the city. Public infrastructure is in dire need of attention, with the city's roads often riddled with potholes and cracks. Regina's public transportation system is outdated and inadequate, leaving many residents dependent on personal vehicles, further contributing to road congestion. The city's social services, including healthcare and education, are increasingly strained, with long wait times and overcrowded facilities becoming the norm. The downtown area, though historically rich, suffers from a high vacancy rate, which gives it a desolate, abandoned feel. Regina is a city that has the potential to thrive, yet remains stuck in a cycle of economic stagnation, crime, and inadequate services, leaving its residents feeling like the city is always on the verge of something more, but never quite getting there. Oh, and by the way, I know you're liking this video already. Go ahead right now and show me some love by hitting the like button. Done. Alright. Let's continue. 7. Toronto, Ontario. Toronto, Canada's largest and most diverse city, is a place that promises excitement and opportunity but often falls short in meeting the expectations of its residents. The city's skyrocketing cost of living is the first major complaint. In 2023, the average home price in the Greater Toronto Area crossed the $1 million mark, forcing many lifelong residents to look for housing in distant suburbs or even consider relocating to more affordable regions. Even renting an apartment has become increasingly out of reach, as rent prices have surged, leaving young professionals and families struggling to keep up. The strain is especially felt in neighborhoods where demand outpaces supply, making it a challenge for newcomers and locals alike to find a place to call home. Add to that the daily chaos of traffic congestion, Toronto has earned its reputation for being one of the worst cities for commuting in North America. A staggering 100+ hours annually are lost to traffic, and those brave enough to use the city's public transportation are often met with overcrowded subways and frequent delays. The lack of a comprehensive public transit system, particularly outside the downtown core, forces many to depend on cars, worsening the gridlock. For anyone living in Toronto, the frustration is palpable. The constant hum of the city feels more like a buzz of anxiety than a hum of progress. Toronto's crime rate has become another factor tarnishing its once pristine image. Although it remains safer than some other Canadian cities, violent crimes like shootings and robberies are no longer rare. As certain neighborhoods struggle with increased gang activity, many feel a growing unease about safety, especially in the city center. Despite efforts to modernize its infrastructure, Toronto is showing signs of strain. Public schools, once considered among the best, are now overcrowded, and healthcare services can no longer keep up with the expanding population. Public parks, once serene spaces, are increasingly overrun with people, diminishing their value as places of escape. Toronto, once a city of endless possibilities, often feels like an urban jungle, its inhabitants lost in a maze of high-rise buildings, constant noise, and disconnection. 8. Montreal, Quebec. Montreal is a city that has captivated visitors with its European charm, culinary delights, and vibrant festivals. Yet, behind its picturesque streets and lively atmosphere lies a city with deep-rooted issues that leave many residents frustrated and disillusioned. Montreal's climate alone is enough to drive people to the edge. Winters are brutal, with temperatures regularly dipping below -20 degrees Celsius, and the summer heat can be stifling and sticky. The city's ever-changing weather conditions leave residents feeling like they're always battling nature, unable to plan for a smooth week of activities without being caught off guard by rain, snow, or extreme heat. But the weather is only the beginning of Montreal's problems. The city's language politics have long been a point of contention. While Montreal proudly upholds French as its official language, many English-speaking residents feel sidelined, especially in a city where they once thrived. The divide between French and English speakers has led to a number of protests and a growing sense of division. For English speakers, it often feels like Montreal is less about inclusivity and more about exclusion, where government services, education, and even job opportunities are skewed in favor of the French-speaking majority. The city's infrastructure has also suffered from years of neglect. Montreal's roads, riddled with potholes and cracks, are a constant source of frustration for drivers, who often find themselves dodging dangerous dips and crumbling bridges. Traffic is a nightmare, and the public transit system, while extensive, is notorious for delays, overcrowding, and poor maintenance. The city's crime rate, particularly gang violence and property crime, is on the rise, adding to the sense of instability. Though Montreal remains a favorite for tourists, its internal issues leave its residents feeling disconnected and stressed, trapped in a city struggling to bridge the gap between its historical past and its uncertain future. 9. Calgary, Alberta. Calgary, once the shining star of Canada's oil industry, is now a city caught between its prosperous past and an uncertain future. With the rise and fall of oil prices, the city's economy has taken a dramatic hit, and many residents are now facing the harsh reality of a changing job market. Calgary's identity crisis has left a palpable sense of unease in the air. People aren't sure if they should cling to the past or adapt to a new, oil-independent future. This uncertainty has also affected the city's downtown core, which was once a bustling business hub but now stands filled with empty office buildings as companies downsize or embrace remote work. Alongside this economic downturn, Calgary's crime rate has surged. Property crimes such as car theft and break-ins have become increasingly common, especially in neighborhoods once considered safe. For many, the city's downward spiral is exemplified in its rising homelessness rates, with nearly 2,000 homeless individuals reported in 2023 alone. Despite its vast wealth, Calgary has failed to provide enough support for its most vulnerable, and social services remain underfunded and overstretched. The infrastructure in Calgary, which once boasted smooth highways and expansive roads, is now under strain. Roads are becoming more damaged, public transit options are limited, and basic services like healthcare and education are overwhelmed. Long waiting times for medical appointments and overcrowded schools have left residents wondering if the city will ever fully recover from its economic crash. Calgary feels like a city at a crossroads, its oil-rich legacy no longer enough to fuel its future, and its people are left to grapple with an uncertain tomorrow. 10. Ottawa, Ontario. Ottawa, the capital of Canada, is a city often overshadowed by its role as the country's political hub. While the city's picturesque beauty and rich cultural history might charm tourists, many residents find themselves yearning for something more. One of the most frequent complaints about Ottawa is its lack of excitement. With few entertainment options and a nightlife scene that many consider dull, Ottawa feels more like a government office than a thriving metropolis. Residents often describe the city as boring, with not much to do once the workday ends. Ottawa's reputation as a government town has made it difficult for the city to foster a unique identity, and many feel as though they are merely living in the shadow of Canada's political machinery. The high cost of living adds to the frustration. Housing prices in Ottawa have reached astronomical levels, with the average home price surpassing $600,000, a figure that's becoming increasingly unaffordable for many. Rent prices, too, are climbing, pushing out lower-income families and young professionals who once thrived in the capital. For many, it feels like the dream of owning a home in Ottawa is slipping further out of reach with each passing year. Ottawa's traffic woes add to the list of frustrations. Though the city's road network is functional, it's not equipped to handle the growing number of commuters. Rush hour traffic often leads to long delays, and the city's public transit system is underdeveloped, leaving many areas poorly served by buses and trains. The crime rate, though lower than other major cities, is on the rise, with property crimes like car thefts becoming more common. Residents are increasingly concerned about safety, but the city seems to be doing little to address these growing issues. For many, Ottawa feels more like a government function than a vibrant, exciting city, leaving residents feeling forgotten, overlooked, and disconnected from the energy they had hoped to find in Canada's capital. Let us have your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us. If you found this information enlightening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content about cities and cultures from around the world.